Hi, my name is Lloydine,
And I'm Heidi.
and we are
The
the
U-Haulers.
Hi, we're back,
Hi.
actually back. We've
Yeah.
taken a hiatus, and we have an amazing guest. If you see over here on the left, we have Xander. I wasn't sure if it's on their left, so I paused. So I am an obsessed reality TV fan, dating
Totally
reality
true. Yeah.
specifically. And I've made Heidi watch hours
So
upon
many.
hours. And our favorite ever
Yeah.
of all was Queer Ultimatum.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're super excited. We've been waiting for this date, and so we have so much tea to get to. So let's get to it. So Xander, you're currently in Hawaii right now?
Yes, currently in Hawaii.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so Queer Ultimatum. So we're just gonna jump into it. So when did you film this
We filmed
amazing show?
in September of 2021 till November of 2021.
Okay, September 21. So yeah, so I remember being really shocked because I think in my head I thought it was 22. And when I looked it up and found out it was so long ago, like I was so surprised. Because the reunion was I mean, the show didn't air for such a long time. So you
Yeah, it
guys
was
had
a
a lot
year
of
after.
that's insane. Because usually, it's maybe 3 months between these shows with the reunion,
Right.
and so you guys had a lot of life to live in between that. So
Mhm.
okay, so we're getting into it. All right, so you filmed then, and so you had to be away from your life, away from your job, everything. Like, how did that work? Because you're leaving for 3 months, in
Yeah,
San Diego.
well,
Is it San Diego?
it was in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm a physical therapist, so I had to leave my job, and I just like was just gonna. I thought I was gonna have like more like cruise time, like where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read and do all this other stuff. I didn't really have time for that. There are other people, like I'm pretty sure. I know Ray. Ray had like just started a new online job. So she was able to like work kind of. I don't know how she did it, honestly, because I I felt like my whole day was filled up all the time. So I don't know how
Oh,
she
wow.
possibly worked. But yeah, but some people work from home.
So your day was filled up with interviews or just interactions or recap, like what was it filled up with?
Yeah, so we had 2 days off um during, I think it was usually a Monday and Tuesday. So but we would have to get COVID tested like almost every day, very regularly.
Wow.
And otherwise, like the time was filled up with, yeah, like we would have like our one-on-one interviews, like where sometimes we would be in there for like 3 to 4 hours, and like there was like pretty much none of that was shown, especially from mine,
Oh
which
wow.
is just so interesting because we had to do that. It wasn't every day, but it was like kind of pretty much every day where we would like recap, and it would be you know from, oh, like this happened, what were you feeling during this moment last week, and like I don't know, it feels like a month ago at this point. Like so much has happened, like every day felt like
Yeah.
a week.
Wow.
So like that's why it
Wow.
feels like crazy. I remember like when my friend that came, Blair, and she was like how, like I feel like that you guys are so connected and everything, but like how did that happen so quickly? I'm like, well, when one day equals a week, it feels like
Yeah.
it was
So
easy.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they keep you from the outside world. They keep emotions high. I mean, this is the only people you're surrounded with. So you had your phones, didn't have your phones.
During the week when we were dating each other and we were alone in our hotel rooms, we did not have our phones for a whole week. And then we did have our phones when we were back in like the trial marriage. But again, like we were filming so much, like we were filming like when they would come into the apartments. I know I've seen some posts that they said that they wanted to see more filming like within the apartments, but there was so much of that too. Like they were constantly
Mhm.
coming in, like in the morning, they'd be like, all right, get back in bed, and like
Wake up.
have your morning conversation. We're like, oh, okay, but we already did that. So there's a lot of that, and then there's a lot of like them filming us making meals, and like eventually you do just kind of get. I felt like I got used to like the crew being there all the time, like where they. I told them I was like, I'm as much married to you guys as I am to Yoli right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
because you're here
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, and so during the day, okay, let's go back to so you had a week separate where you guys show up, and now we talked a little off and we weren't recording, so I'm gonna jump back into some stuff and reminders. So
Yeah.
when you said when you got the call, it was like a week before leaving, is that right? So you had she had started talking to you about it in April. How did she find out about the show? Was it social media or?
Yeah, some social media stuff. Vanessa she used to have like a big Instagram account. I think that somebody ended up finding, she deleted it, but it was mainly pictures of her and I. But her influence, I mean, her Instagram influencer page. She found out about the show, and then I remember she first told me about it. I came in from work and I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not doing that." And then
That was in April.
that was in April, yeah. And then she was like, "Can we just do it? Like, can we just like go on like one of the interviews and just see what it's about?" And it sounded actually like kind of like in the position that we were in, where Vanessa kept saying like she wanted to be with me and stuff, but then she didn't want to be with me forever. But I'm very much like a family person. Like I want to, like I don't know. I still feel like I want to get married, but I definitely want to have a family. I want to have like one unit. And
Mhm.
she just like wasn't having that. It's not something that she anticipated for her future. So I don't like doing this whole limbo thing. I don't want to just like be with
Yeah.
someone if they're not going to be like my forever person. So
Yeah.
that's very much like the situation that we were in. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess let's continue through this process and just see what happens. And then a week before filming, we got on.
A week before. So you
That's
were just going on
crazy.
with life, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm leaving for 3 months and I have a week to
Yeah.
figure out my life.
Yep.
Wow. Now,
Mhm.
how soon before after she applied was the interview? Was it a week before or was it way earlier?
Oh no, we had gone through the whole process in between then. So we had done like psychological tests and we had talked a lot, lots of different people, lots of interviews,
And did
all
that
kinds of
happen
stuff. So like everything.
immediately, like in April, right when she applied, or it
No,
was
it was trickled throughout. Like sometimes we
okay?
wouldn't hear from anyone for like 2 months, and then they'd be like, "Oh, like you passed the next level. Like here's this,"
That's
Wow.
and
And
crazy.
it's
the
just
the
like
first
on and
one
on.
though, like your
Yeah.
first contact to realize, oh, this might be a real thing. How soon was that after she came home and
Oh,
said,
that was pretty. Yeah, it was probably like a week,
okay,
like
that's
that,
still
or
pretty
maybe even
fast.
that week. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay. So you find out you're doing it, you have a week. So now what's your job? So did you have the same job then that you're doing now? Because
Yeah.
I know we want to promote your
Yeah.
company. Is that what you were doing then? Okay, so what's your company?
I work for a physical therapy company here, but I just started my own business. It's called Movement RX.
Amazing.
That's
Amazing.
amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congrats, Movement RX. Okay, so you had to go so you worked for a company. So you had to go talk to your boss and be like, by the way, I'm out for like three
Yeah.
months. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there was I mean, what do people do if they have kids? Because there was
People.
Yeah.
no, just one.
I don't know. Like I know Mildred has a son.
Son,
He's
yeah.
older. Like he can like take care of himself, but like he wasn't like a baby or anything. And then their
But he
pets,
was
like
a
all the pets were
teenager. He
brought.
was still a
He's a teenager.
teenager. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure like her mom or someone in the family like kind of took over for that too. But I was surprised by that. I was like,
yeah.
dang, like this is I thought it was a big deal for me to like be leaving my job for 3 months, but
Yeah.
like other people had so many other layers to their life that they were leaving behind.
Yeah,
So
especially with
I
a
mean
week.
it's a
Yeah.
huge commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially with a week notice. Can you imagine?
No.
Okay, so you get there and you're now separated in these hotel rooms, no phone, and what do you do all day? Like you're not allowed to, you can leave your room, you can't leave your room.
Couldn't leave the room. We never that was like such a I don't know. It was like it really was like it was a nice hotel, right? But like, it was traumatizing at the same time because you didn't know when you were gonna get food, you didn't know when you were gonna get water, you didn't know when you were gonna see another human, and then
That's
someone would it was nuts. And then all of a sudden you'd hear like and I'm like, oh God, who's at the door? Like where am I gonna have to go? And like what am I gonna have to wear?
Oh
So
yeah.
oh, that's
I
So you're
oh it's
sequestered and in
bananas.
quarantine like jury duty. Like if you're on like a big criminal case, like no, like you can watch TV.
We could watch TV, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you
So we were
can't
like
text,
watch
no phone, watch TV, can't leave. So how
Lots
do
of
you,
journaling, lots of being in my head. There
I
was,
can't.
which is what they want. But if you wanted
yeah.
water or food, what would you do?
I so I would make like signs, like people they would like laugh at me because I would know that they were coming in the morning, and I wake up early, so like I knew that they'd be rolling in around like 7:30 or 8. So I'd like have a paper bag that I had from my meal from the day before, and I'd write like, "Can someone bring me water?" And I'd like throw it over the thing,
That's
or I'd put it
insane.
or I'd put it up at my door, and like they would be like,
So basically you're in
Xander, like,
prison. It was
oh
like
yeah,
reality
yeah,
TV show prison. Oh my God.
yeah. And then it was like I would like in my head I would like make these jokes where I'm like, oh, like, and then I also feel like I'm in Taken at the same time. So I'm like, where are they going to take me to next? Like, who am I going to have to be with?
You're
Like,
like, it's
where?
all just a ruse. Like you're saying it's a reality
Yeah.
TV show.
Or they'll be like for some of the first few COVID tests, they'd like have these drivers and they'd be like, put us in a van. I'm like, where are we going?
That's
Oh my
horrifying.
gosh. Yeah, because I feel
It's
like
like
a
it's
lot of
funny now.
you, like
It's
you
funny
said,
now. She says it's funny now.
Yeah.
now, are you a reality show or dating reality show watcher before this?
No, I don't watch TV at all. Like I'm very much more like I do like a lot of outside time, listen to a lot of podcasts and listen to music. So I had to binge watch Love is Blind before going on the show because I needed some sense of like what's happening kind of thing. Like what do I need to prepare for? So I was telling some people the other day where I was like all of that like confused looks from me, like especially the first 4 weeks, they were real. Because I was like, what is going on? Like I'm so in the dark here. Like I had no idea about like character arcs or storylines or like villains or things like that. I was just blindsided. Silly
Wow.
me.
Oh my goodness. So did watching Love is Blind, you think it helped you or it freaked you out even more before arriving?
Um, I don't know, 'cause, like, I think I knew that ours was going to be different, but I didn't know how different because the first Ultimatum had not come out yet.
Oh,
That
okay.
didn't come out until after we had filmed, and that's when we watched it. Or like
Oh.
I think most people watched it, but I mean, I will say like I feel like that it had the same premise, but it was different in a lot of ways
Yeah, I
too.
felt it was very different because I've seen both
Yeah.
things. Wow. Okay, so favorite parts of filming.
If any.
Man, I had so many like roller coaster moments with that, like with filming, just like I felt I went through periods of feeling really negative about it, and I went through periods of feeling, I don't know, like angry at like the show and other things. But now I'm so grateful for it. But uh, the favorite, I mean, I think my favorite part about filming was getting to meet so many people,
Yeah.
and like I feel like that the crew members were amazing. Like
Good.
they really helped me see who I was in a way, which is like it's cool. Like it's cool. Like I felt like that they saw me enough and they like would ask me questions like, Xander, like what you have to like think about yourself. If you keep saying like, well, I don't want to hurt Vanessa and I don't want to do this, but like you have to think about yourself. And like I had never done that before. So I think that was like one of my favorite things about filming is just feeling like this sense of like immediate friendship, family, and like community of all of us. And there was actually a lot of the crew were queer as well, so like that was
Oh,
nice.
awesome.
And to feel like that it wasn't just like a like I don't know, like we weren't like being like watched in a way of like, oh, like are they gonna kiss or like what's gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
it felt very normal.
Awesome.
Okay.
Because that's
It's
sometimes a
important.
complaint because the crew in reality TV show, they get so close to everyone. So everyone feels like they're best friends, but then they're also there to drum up drama or,
Absolutely.
and so sometimes people afterwards, they get so vulnerable because they're like, oh, this is my confidant, this is my buddy. And then they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
So that's good that you still felt that way after.
Yeah. And yeah, and I feel like I think that I felt that during the show too because like I knew that that was their job at the same time. Like that's one part that I don't feel like that I was blind to. Like I could really have a good like heart to heart and be vulnerable with some of the producers and other cast members and everything. But I was also very aware, oh, okay, well they're about to go do this date with Vanessa and Ray or whoever it was, and and they can't be completely unbiased, but they also are in a way like their job is to like stir the drama and etc. So yeah, I was also careful with things.
So I'm curious a little. You just said that you're really great. You've come to a place now where you're really grateful for the whole experience. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Is that a lot of the self-discovery? Is that what you're grateful for, or what pieces?
Yeah, I would say the biggest part is like self-discovery. I feel like I feel so grateful also like the fact that I do like get to live on an island that's a little bit like more rural and secluded, so I don't have a bunch of people all up my face and like trying to like I don't know, like whatever all the time. So I've had so much time and space to work on myself and feel like I like am like able to know who I am like without a relationship and like without because like Vanessa and I were together for 4 years. So
Yeah.
there's just like been a whole like a lot of awakening and I feel like that and sometimes I like describe it as like a car crash. Like some people like have this like huge life event that like maybe like their house caught on fire, maybe they had like significant injury or whatever, something happened. And I think that mine was like a reality show in a way. Like I was living my life in a certain way and I needed this huge wake up call. And that's what I feel like that it was. And I feel just so thankful for where I am now and like how I'm gonna continue like growing for the future too.
Yeah.
I feel like the fans felt that. I mean, I think that's why you're one of the favorites because we took this journey with you and we saw that it was
Yeah.
needed. We saw that it was happening. We were like rooting for it, right? And you said before, so when you got the call, or no, when you got the call a week before going on, and all of a sudden you find out we're doing this, you and Vanessa weren't in the greatest place. So that had to go into that because I had to like be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we're going on this, and
Yeah, that was so hard really because like I mean I honestly I feel myself during that moment because I think Tiff and Mildred were like really honest with a lot of things and I was still like I said like I was so scared in a lot of ways. I wasn't like comfortable within myself and I definitely wasn't being comfortable like being filmed and not knowing anything that was going on. But I remember Tiff and Mildred saying like, oh, like we've broken up like 100 times or something. And honestly, like Vanessa and I didn't break up that many times, but there was a lot. I mean, over the 4 years that we dated, like there was a lot of amazing moments, and we did grow a lot together. But our communication sucked, so we just never. I don't know, like that was just like really hard. So we did have a lot of breakups, and I was in a spot at that time where, let's say, for example, like she would say that we were breaking up, and then I would just be so like distraught, and I feel like I like so like I guess like what Mildred said at one point, like I feel like I had abandonment issues where I would like beg her to stay, which is just now looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? But I just like wish that I would have just like let her go. But I'm I had to like learn all those things. But she had actually she had planned this 3 week long trip, and this is before the show. So she was actually gone. She was not in Hawaii when we found out that we were on the show. She was out doing her own thing. And like that's something like during that time that really sunk into me a lot because I was like, this person that I've been with for 4 years is planning this whole life that I'm not involved in. Like I'm very much of like a person like where my partner like I'm gonna include them in on things. Like I'm gonna let them know like anything, like what I had for lunch or whatever. And like I was so not in her like day-to-day thoughts or her planning for her future. And like that became very aware, like I was like really aware of that like when she left. And then when we got the call that we were on the show, I was like, yeah, okay, well, this doesn't really feel right. Like, I don't know if we should do this necessarily because like we're such in a not great space. Like you're not even here. And I don't even know what you're doing. I haven't even really talked to you in the past week. So when she got back, like everything just moved so quickly and I don't know. It's just like I kind of just like jumped in on this ride with her. So yeah, so like I don't know. Like I think that was the other thing is like where things progress so quickly with where I realized like, oh, I don't want this to be the person that I'm going to end up with actually because of a lot of the stuff that had happened in our relationship, and then now seeing it again while tons of other people, like the other cast members and the rest of the crew members, like once I realized that they were seeing it too, I'm like, oh, it's not good. Like I can't hide this from anyone anymore. Like this is how our relationship is. It's not great.
Yeah,
It's a lot of validation for what you're experiencing. Yeah.
So much validation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and she definitely went through her journey as well,
Yeah.
right? Because in the beginning it was very much, it was obvious, right, that she came on to play and to have fun. And there's that moment that I think is talked about a lot when you guys are all meeting around tables, first meeting the host, meeting each other. Um, I don't know if that was really when you first met each other, but it's when it's a night scene, you're
It
all
was.
okay. So you're first meeting each other and she flirts with Mal right in front of you and Yoli, like immediately, and so, so she had this very playful, but then when she gets back to you and realizes, oh, fuck, like I could lose this person, like, and she'd admitted that she thought there was no chance you would find anyone else, that you would ever choose anyone besides her. And so she just felt like she's encouraging you in that scene to go out there and find someone, but really it's more like because she knows she wants to have the freedom, right? And then she had this moment like, oh shit, I didn't find someone and I think I'm going to lose her. And so there was a fight, and you saw all of a sudden vulnerability that had not been there. And it was like this whole, it was.
Which I think also was validation for you, right? Because clearly there were real things there. And, you say now looking back, right, you wish you had let her go. But I think, hindsight gives us that perspective. But in those moments, there's real things. And it's not as easy as all that to just be like, okay, just go then, right? Like there's a lot of attachment and history and love and that became really apparent
Yeah,
when
especially because you start out as friends, like,
yeah
and had this big journey. And so it's not, you built a life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's never as easy as,
yeah
it is from people on the outside being like, oh, just move
just
on.
yeah
Exactly. Yeah, and that's you're exactly right because like that was the pull for me too because so when we first got back when her and I started our child marriage, we did try these were signs that like I was like, oh, she is like trying to change, but then I just kept feeling like shit, it's too late. Like
Mm.
every time that she would say these things, like where I could tell that she was like I had never even really to a degree seen her be as vulnerable and as heartfelt as she was being. But at the same time, I was like, I don't believe you. And like I hate feeling that. Like I hate feeling like I can't trust what the things that you're saying right now. And I also hate that we had to go through all of that.
Now, why did
And I
take
didn't
this?
yeah, and like I didn't realize that I was gonna feel that way. Like I was really hoping that I was gonna be able to get back with her and things were gonna be just like that, all those like initial feelings were gonna come back, but it just wasn't like that. So even like the hot air balloon ride, the night that I like thrilled for her and I was like, oh, I'm not done with this yet kind of thing. That I that was in a way they were words that I meant, but it was kind of shown in a way as if I wanted her back or that I wanted to be with her. But we had already had so many conversations about how we were going to move forward with trying to figure out we were going to be friends. So
Okay.
we were more so like, we love each other so much and we do have so much history and so much connection, but this is not working. And
Yeah.
so like I was like, I'm not done with you. Like I want you in my life and I still want her in my life. It's not happening right now. And I think it's probably gonna still take many years if ever. But I also always look back and be grateful for our time together. And like I even like I was like even just going through some pictures yesterday and I was like, we had such good like so many good years together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of my exes, but you look back and just because you weren't right for each other doesn't mean there's not a lot you appreciate about them or love about them. But
Right.
yeah,
time has to heal and it's not for everyone, right? Some people will never be friends with their exes. I think
right.
I've often found more so with lesbians or women dating women that it happens, because of how we get so close and connect.
Mhm.
Because I'm definitely friends with my female exes more than like male exes. And so, but some just can't handle it and some just takes time, right? Because
Right.
there's so much to work through there's hurt feelings and,
So
yeah.
Absolutely.
when you talk about like feeling like it was too late, was that, and if this is too personal, you can just tell me, but was that more like I have fallen in love with someone else, or I have fallen in love with myself and now I'm aware like that I can't, that this isn't the kind of love that's right for me? Which one do you think was more there?
Yeah. Uh, That's a really great question. Since it has been so long, I've like my feelings have like developed and evolved so much. So I would say I'm kind of give you a little bit of both. Right now is what I feel is that it was that I was having feelings for someone else, but now I realize that it was actually more so that I was feeling more like I had the space to love myself and like choose things for myself because I was giving so much of my energy to Vanessa and she was taking it, like that's
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
it's just what was happening. So and like that's something I can't necessarily like fault her on, even though it doesn't look great. It didn't look great on TV. It didn't like look great like from now, like hearing what my friends have said, like when they would hang out with us and stuff, and that was very much like what they would see all the time. But I feel like because Yola and I didn't have any history and we didn't have any of those things, it just I was able to fall into it easier. But at the same time, she like had this like sweetness about her in a way, like where I feel like that she was asking me questions about myself, like,
Yeah.
well, what do you want? Or like what feels best for you? And like what are
Mm.
your goals and what are these things? And, like
Yeah.
those are all things that are like so important to me because I'm like a very like reflective person. So I don't feel like that I was getting any of that like depth with Vanessa. And like that was what I was really lacking and I had wanted so badly.
Mm.
So honestly, like I don't mean this in a way of like that I didn't like love Yoli or anything, but like in a way it probably could have been a lot of different people
Sure.
because it just was more so about me seeing what I needed and what I really wanted. And then I started giving that to myself this past year and a half.
Mm.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And we loved watching that, right? I mean, watching you fall in love with Yoli, even if it didn't work out, just seeing, you get, what you've seeing that you could have that, seeing you get what you've always thought a relationship, should be like. It was just a sweet thing to watch, right?
Yeah.
And so, I
Yeah.
mean, even Mal said that. She was
Yeah.
like,
Well, and we're
Yeah.
not, I mean, you were clearly a fan favorite for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like watching you learn to love yourself and watching Yoli teach you what love could look like, right?
Mhm.
It's such a universal um arena, I guess, right? It's such a universal place that we can all put ourselves, like, oh my gosh, like those initial instances of love, right? Where you're all about the other person, you're learning about them, that's a really critical part about loving ourselves, right? That's why people say journal, be self-reflective, because when you ask those questions, when you're falling in love and you ask those questions, right, it's important to remember to keep doing that, right? And we don't. I mean, that's why they call it the honeymoon phase, etc. But watching you live um that universal truth, right? That brought all of us to an awareness, I think, of ourselves, right? Or to like what love can and should, right? And the gift that it can be. And I think that's, I mean, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but that was why, like watching you and the vulnerability that you brought to it, it was magic. It really was.
Yeah.
So
So, okay, so I want to dive in. When you were in the 3 weeks, you've just come out of the 3 weeks of Yoli, and you're finding out you're going to go now with 3 weeks with Vanessa. And you've fallen in love with Yoli, and you've realized all this stuff about yourself. How difficult was that? Because not only are you going to go away from Yoli, so that's going to be hard. Now you're going to go through, you don't know what's going to happen with her and Mal. Now you're going to go with Vanessa, and your feelings have changed, and you don't know what you're walking into. And then when you get there, she is fighting for you, and it's not feeling how you wanted it to. But then you have to be, it's not like in a normal situation, you would just be like, no, I need some space, I'm gonna go home. You can't, right?
Yeah.
And so you are in it, and she is sad about it, and you're having to go against that for 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks. So yeah, talk to me about that, because that I was feeling it for you. I was like,
Yeah. Man, you're right. Like that was probably no, it was that was absolutely I thought that I had gotten through like the worst of it when I was during that week alone, because I just, like you said, like that is what they wanted, because like
Yeah.
it was, I love being by myself, love it, but being forced to be by yourself, like I was like, this is hell. But
Yeah.
then you're right, because I think when I was like knowing that that time with Yoli was ending, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna miss this, and this was great, but also it is time for us to like get kind of a reality check, because we've been like living in this like dreamland in a
Yeah.
way. And I really did actually want to see where her and Mal were going to go. Like I really didn't feel like, especially since we had only had that short time together, I didn't feel like an attachment to her necessarily, where I was like, I need you to choose me in a way. Like I want to be chosen, but also like I wanted her to give her and Mal like a fair shot, because Mal's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was such a hard time too, because I had known that Vanessa, as seen, like is very reactive, and that's something that I don't feel comfortable with. Like I shut down pretty quickly, like when there's like yelling or arguing or conflict and things like that. But I, like you said, like I have to face it. Like there wasn't necessarily time for me to. Usually, I spend a little bit more time processing and going through my feelings and things like that. There just wasn't time for that. Like it was like this conversation is happening now, and you're being filmed, and like,
Oh,
yeah, it was just like a lot. So
because it was
I would,
immediate, right? Like you said goodbye to Yoli, and how long until you literally walk up and it's like, no, Vanessa and
It
I.
was wasn't there a dinner?
it
There
was
was
a
the
dinner.
dinner. That's right.
That was it. Yeah, which is
Oh, that was
that was
it?
actually that was it, which is
No.
bewildering in a way. Yes, like it was. So
Wow.
that was the other thing too, is like, so we had like a few hours. Like Yoli like left in the morning. We had a few hours where we like, whatever, I don't know, got ourselves ready for this dinner, and then and then I don't think people like caught on to this yet. I haven't seen, at least. Vanessa and I lived in the same apartment that Yoli and I lived in. The same bed, the
Oh.
same,
Oh.
all the decorations. And I mean, not just us, like the other couples shared too, but some people I guess, like I'm pretty sure Lexi like said absolutely not, like we need a new apartment, because she didn't want to stay where her and Vanessa had to stay, which I get it. Like that's just how Lexi is. But so
She's
that was
like,
the
Ray and
She's
I
like,
could not
she's
be
like,
where Vanessa was.
exactly,
It's like
exactly.
Vanessa has touched this area.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not touching any of the shit Vanessa touched.
That
But
was a funny moment for me because this is a girl that was falling for Vanessa. So to see it turn,
oh
like
yeah.
it was the most dramatic turn. I was like, because for me, I feel like Vanessa was so obvious, like I said at that first cocktail party, um, that the fact that Lexi was so shocked, I missed the shock. Like I was like, when did we become shocked? Because I feel like Vanessa has shown up the whole time, kind of being like flirting in front of people. I want to play. Marriage isn't for me. I don't even know if I ever want to get married. Like being very honest, I thought, up
Mhm.
front about I don't know if forever is a thing I can do. I don't know if marriage is a thing I want. I don't know if I want to share kids with someone like. And so for her to be so shocked when then she says to Lexi, yeah, I mean, I want to like try this out, but I don't know that I'm going to end up with wanting to marry the person I'm with. And she was like, what? And I was like, what? I did
We're like,
not get
what?
it.
You're
Yeah,
like,
I
I
Yeah.
felt like I was like on punked. Like I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like what? Like, so I was so confused by that. And then that just turned into like this hatred that was just not gonna end. And even
Mhm.
Mal was like, okay.
But you mentioned something too about not really being aware of like the villain story and things like that, which I was not either. Like we have said, I would never watch reality TV except for this one. And so the first time I ever saw a villain storyline, I was like, like clutching my pearls, right? Like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And she was like, come on, Heidi. And I was like, what? You know, and so
Yeah.
like had no concept. And I was like, this is a terrible human being. Why would they allow any of this?
Right.
And so
Yeah, I found out. So Vanessa and I share the same hairstylist. And so
Oh,
throughout the entire
interesting.
Queer Ultimatum, yeah. Shout out to her. And so we actually would go back and forth because she knew Vanessa she like got her ready for the reunion. So she knew her outside of the show, and like, you know,
Mhm.
her and her husband love Vanessa, and then me and Heidi are like, rah, rah, rah. And so we would come in and we would go back and forth about Vanessa. We'd argue. Then she'd be like, "You haven't seen," and literally my hairstylist was like, her name's Monica, she's amazing. She's like, "You have not seen the next episode." I'm like, "No, I got behind." She's like, "We're gonna watch it while we do your hair." And she would put the phone up and we would literally watch Queer
That's
Ultimatum. And then
amazing.
I would rewatch it when I get home with Heidi, and we would like go back and forth. And she'd be like, "Yeah, but Lexi with Vanessa," and I'd be like, "Yeah, but Vanessa," and this whole thing. So I ended up reaching out to Vanessa afterwards because I was like, you know, I really feel like you took a journey, and I am, if you own up to something on a reunion show, you have me. Like, I was like, you started showing vulnerability, you started owning up to things. I was like, I feel like people need to give you more props for that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and you were who you said you were when you came on. So the fact that people were shocked, I don't really understand it. So even if I got mad, it wasn't like I was shocked, right? And so yeah, so I ended up reaching out to my hairstylist and being like, "All right, your girl pulled it through," like, you know, on that
That's
reunion
so
and
good.
vulnerability and the whole second half, because we had only seen each other through when you were with Yoli and she was with Ray. I hadn't seen her this, you know, when you guys, and so then I was writing her. It was like a text battle. So, but we both were like, "Oh, look at she's doing so well." So yeah,
Yeah.
so it was funny, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I
And
did.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No,
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 you
you.
go.
Oh, I will say, like, I mean, I've gone through that too, because even rewatching the show, I had forgiven Vanessa for a lot of things. I think that we had forgiven each other for some things, etc. But then I was like, oh, there's like fire came inside me again, where I was like, I just remembered, you know, a lot of the things that weren't shown,
Yeah.
and because there's a lot of not great moments between us that, like, I think that it was shown that, you know, Vanessa was trying to like she was like ready to get married and everything, but there was also still so much, and I don't like saying this, like there really was still so much manipulation,
Mm.
but that is just who she was at that time. Maybe it's
Yeah.
still who she is, but now I like the way that she said it at the reunion for Lexi, where she's like, "I'm not in your life anymore. Like, I'll stay as far away from you as possible." And that's kind of like, in a way, like how I feel now too, where I'm like, she's on her own journey. She was in, like, we were together for a little bit, but she can do whatever she wants. It's not going to affect me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you have to not only watch it as a fan or seeing it, but you know all the stuff that wasn't shown, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and they, because they do, even the producers, right? They manipulate what they want the fans to see. So they may want her to be a certain person, be a villain in this area, but not in this area, or they don't want
Exactly.
that to be so much villain, or they want this to be more villain, and so they try to work that around, and that is always frustrating because you're like, but yeah, so it's a hard part about it because it is your reality. And that's why they call it reality
Hmm.
TV. It's not complete reality to the viewers. And that's where people get
Yes.
really confused
I'm
is
still confused.
it's reality to the versus
Yeah.
it's your real life that you have to
Yeah.
live, but you're put in a manipulated situation that's not complete reality that then
Right.
wreaks havoc on your real reality when you go home, you know, so or makes it better or whatever, but there's consequences and good things that come of it that's in your real life that you have to go back and live out of their
Yeah, it's a really
fake
brave.
reality. It's like a
Yeah.
whole thing.
It's really brave, I
Hmm.
feel like. You
It's
know,
very
you guys were, and I feel like especially, you know, I mean, you and then there were a couple other people on the show where I was like, I don't know how you did it with such authenticity, right? Like how you could allow yourself to sort of be laid bare that way, right? Because that's hard.
and
That's
I realized that we interrupted because you were saying
oh
why it was how it was the hardest part for you was going back. You were talking about that and then
Yeah. And I
Lexi
think
came
that
up and I
it's kind of like what I was saying about like the manipulation part, where I knew that she, like, Vanessa has the ability to be very reactive,
mhm.
and I know that I shut down during those times. I was like, man, like this, it just felt like a unsafe, I guess, really is what it is. Like I felt like unsafe and not not like secure, and in a lot of during all of that time, like just like anticipating what it was going to be like. And it could have been worse, but it also could have been better.
Yeah.
Like during our time together, like we tried to like have some days like on our like off days, we were like, let's just try and forget about everything and let's just try and go and like to like Balboa Park and like enjoy our time in San Diego. And it'd be like good for a little bit, and then it wasn't. So yeah, it was
I
just
remember
like a
your
normal
face.
relationship.
Your most uncomfortable moment was during the conversation where she looked through your phone and found out that you and Yoli were messaging
Oh yeah.
and then confronted you. And I remember there was just like this like moment where the camera caught you, like where you're like, oh, this is coming at me. And like talk me through what you were shocked, or you were just like, oh, I got to deal with this. You already knew, but then you're like, now I have to deal with it on camera, or
Yeah, more like I had to deal with it on camera. I definitely wasn't shocked because that's a very Vanessa move, to do that and to like be. This is just something, and I'm really not trying to like talk shit about her by any means, but it was that's like when we were hanging out with our friend groups. Like if I did something that she didn't like she definitely wanted to like make that public and like make it like
oh,
look at this thing that Xander did. Like she's not perfect. I'm like no one thinks that, but I don't know. And like that was the part that to me it was just like a eye roll. Like okay, Vanessa. Like if this was like, and I think that to a degree, like that's kind of like what Yoli felt when she was like, oh, like you've just
I
been
couldn't wait
waiting
to
to
bring
bring
this
this up,
up.
Vanessa. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I get it, but like that is just like who Vanessa is, I guess.
And Mal picked
So
up on it too,
that
because
it was
Mal
more
was
just like
like, don't let me be
yeah,
a part of you trying to spin up this drama.
Right.
But then
right,
what would
exactly, and
happen
like
on Vanessa's, I guess, on another point though, is that she would go and do this and everyone would be like, oh, you're just bringing this up. And then things would come out that was not truthful on Yoli's side, that Mal would be like, wait a minute, like I'm like defending you because she's just trying to stir trouble, but that is not what I've been told. And so it seemed that every time she did it, which I think also upset Yoli even more than just the annoyance of it, is that it did keep like shedding light on things that I think Yoli was really, as what I saw as at least a viewer, wanting to play both sides. And it
yeah,
didn't all make sense in the beginning because I didn't really understand. One, it was we always talked about how Mal was so in it with Lexi and she was the driving force, and all of a sudden she took a big back seat and was like, oh, kind of just friends. And then we find out, at the reunion that Yoli's, while telling you she's in love with you and wants this, she's messaging Mal saying, hey, whatever's happened with your girl over there, like I still want this, don't get too close, kind of thing. Just making sure you're both, on the fence with her. And then Mal is realizing, I think that's why Mal said she was so hurt, or they're so hurt. I haven't been able to ask Mal's pronoun yet. That here being told, like, because I remember Mal saying, really crying and getting into it about, you want us both to be crucified for you. Like Xander's amazing, I'm amazing, and I was like, I wonder why that's being said. And then I was like, oh, right when you were told, like, I remember your shocked face at the reunion when Mal said, I'm watching you tell Xander, I love you, I want this, it's me and you, but you're texting me at the same time or DMing me saying, that you want me. And, I remember being like, oh my gosh, she's playing both sides. Same with when Mal was like, I told you at the cocktail party, go break up with Xander. It's cool. I got you. Go break up. And then, Yoli's over with you being like, am I being watched? I don't want anyone to see, but I love you. I'm in love with you. I want this, and then telling Mal that she's just having a breakup conversation, telling you she is going to come to Hawaii, and then being like, Hawaii? What? Why is everyone acting? What do you mean Hawaii? And you're like, well, you kind of said that maybe you'd come to, oh yeah, I didn't remember that happened. And that was twice that happened in the show where she was like, Xander's like, you never told me that you were, asking for selfies and stuff with. And she's like, I didn't think that happened, and she was always very surprised, like, oh, did that happen? Really? Oh yeah. And so I think that was another thing that Vanessa caught on. And Yoli, who was a favorite, was like, I don't like, this coming out. And so am I right that you were shocked at that moment at the reunion, or were you not really shocked? When there was all of a sudden Mal's like, I was getting message, there was both sides kind of being played. How did you feel? Or the Hawaii?
yeah. I was like kind of shocked when I was definitely, I think I was actually more shocked when she was trying to play it off as if she wasn't trying to come to Hawaii to see me, because I was like, and I was like trying to stay calm. I'm like, I could call you out on a lot more bullshit, but I just don't have the energy, or do I care to do that?
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that I was picking up more so on, like where everything started to just feel sneaky, and like it irritated me watching it back when I do remember when she was like, oh, like, am I being like watched right now? And to think about that she had just told Mal that she was gonna like break up with me. I'm like, why didn't you just do that if that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Like I would have much more have preferred that. Like I don't like this whole like shadiness or secretness and stuff. And like I think I can see areas like where on the show, especially like where it looked like I was being a little shady and sneaky too in that way, but not to say like I don't know about like I can't speak for Yoli, but I think mine was more so coming from like a fear of Vanessa's reaction, like what was gonna happen now that I'm like stuck living with her, and that I knew that I had to like, go back and be with her in Hawaii. Like I was like it was like kind of like genuine fear in a way.
Yeah.
Because Mal offered to walk away, and Yoli was like, "No, I'm still here."
No,
And she had,
don't. Right.
yeah, and just had told you, "I want this." And then even after the most uncomfortable proposal engagement that has been in the history of proposals engagements that happened that we all had to witness, and of course Mal's like, "That's not how I wanted my engagement to be," and I'm like, "Thank God." But even after that, to watch her go and be not only just crying, but being like, "I love you," like saying "I love you" when she
Like I
just said
want this with
yes.
you.
Yeah.
And to see
Yeah.
her take off her ring when she walks up to you. We were all like, like, "Where's the ring? She just said yes." And then we saw your excitement happen because you look down and there's no ring, and you're like, "Oh." And then she's like, "Stop, stop, don't be excited." And then I just didn't wait to see the ring. And then, "But I'm in love with you. I love you." Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
It
And
was
I think that
hard.
was the other, yeah, and I think that was the other thing that I like again, like watching it back that I got upset with because I'm like, man, like she really just like let me go on and on about how I could see that her and I could date, even though her and I had had many conversations, like if we did decide to date afterwards, like we would both need to like have our time and our space after being in long-term relationships. But
Right.
I don't know, like that felt like so it's kind of fucked up to like feel like, man, I just like told you all this about how I'm feeling when you actually were just like receiving all of it and then and then you're just like getting to okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
I'm so
Like,
glad to hear you say
why?
that actually. Like I think that just healed something for me to hear you say that you were a little upset about that. I'm like, oh good. Okay, we're good.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like that was like very
no, I was letting you finish. Sorry.
oh oh yeah, sorry. I was like, oh, did it pause? Yeah, it was very like upsetting like to watch. And at the same time, like I remember like there was like parts like I don't know if they were like shown, but I was like, get out of here, like go get Mal, like go be with your girl. Like I don't like I'm done here. I'm done with this whole thing. I'm done with this show. I want to go home.
Yeah.
I'm over this. Like
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just let me be. Like we can chat another time in the future, but I'm fucking done. Just let me go.
Yeah.
When you got home, were you reaching out or you were getting reached out to? Like, how did that go? Because I know it came out that you guys were messaging when you got home. So how did that start? Was it just that she was still with Mal and it was when Mal was away, or Mal knew, or how did that happen?
Yeah, that was all kind of confusing too because I I feel like we had like talked. Her and Mal like went on this like trip, and I was like, let's not like you guys just enjoy your trip. Like I actually need to like deal with this whole Vanessa thing. Like I need to try and get her like moved out, etc. I got a lot going on my plate too, so I thought that it would be we both kind of agreed like it'd be best for us to excuse me like not talk for a little bit so that her and Mal can figure out their stuff. They still obviously had a lot to talk about too, and go through like even just because they're engaged doesn't mean that it was going to be like great from there on. So I wanted their space to do that, but then things were hard with me when Vanessa and I were trying to get her moved out and off the island and everything, and then her and Mal were having some hard times too. And I think because we knew that we had that support and connection from one another, it did feel comfortable for us to be like, hey, can I like call and vent to you about this? Like, hey, can I like, so we were like we were chatting about things like that, and we just that it felt like nice to like have her support, especially since we had just both went through that crazy thing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it definitely did start feeling more like I'm out here, I'm single in Hawaii, and I'm like on my own healing growth journey. She's still with Mal, but like I'm still hearing things about her and Mal's relationship. And then I was just like, I don't want to like I don't want to hear about this anymore. Like, can we just like if you're gonna call and like shoot the shit and like let's talk, like it's fine, but like I don't want to like rehash all this stuff again. Like, and also like it still kind of hurts me at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I just don't feel like I'm the person for you to do that with. So the one thing also that I was surprised about at the reunion is that Mal did not know that Yoli and I were talking. That was a surprise for me. And I thought that she was aware because Yoli had told me that she was like, oh yeah, like Mal's cool with us talking, etc. So I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't have done that. Because I was
Right.
really when I left the show, I had left like a lot of those old patterns and stuff behind that I was like falling into. And I didn't want it. I was done with the shadiness. I was done with the hiding. But then when she would call me like on her lunch break or on the way to work, like it was always, of course, like when she was not around Mal. It just didn't. It didn't feel comfortable, and it like kept making me feel more like distrust, and like I just felt like I wasn't like, able to like have that like loyalty and everything with Yoli anymore.
Yeah.
And how long until Coachella happened?
So that was also an interesting thing because we had not like we hadn't been talking as much. I think Mal had like just recently moved out. So like I think I didn't know like they broke up after like 2 weeks, which I didn't know that was a thing. But Mal didn't. I don't know when Mal moved out, but I want to say it was like a month before Coachella. And I was already feeling like when like Yoli asked me to like meet her up there, I was like, I don't know if this like feels right. Like we kind of feel like that we're in different paths, but like I don't know. I've never been to Coachella, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
So we went and like we met up and it was fun, but it was also just different. It was just really different. And
Was it
just
just friend? I mean, was there no romance at all?
yeah, it was no, there was not. Which is just like weird, you know, but like we were so like she was going through her own stuff and I was going still through like mine.
Yeah.
So it just felt weird, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, we still tried to have fun, but it was an awkward little time.
It's so funny because reality TV is all it's so like Stagecoach or Coachella, like always the cast members run into each other there and drama happens, but pre-show when they're not supposed to and it or whatever, or and so I wasn't sure if that was one of those like, oh, we both just happened to go to Coachella, but it sounds like it was more of a planned like but yeah.
Yeah, we were like she knew that I was gonna go and like she was gonna be there, so we were like we'll meet up and like see how things are. So like
Did you hang
it
out
wasn't like
the whole time or just
no.
oh, okay. Yeah, so went with a friend.
There was one other thing that you had mentioned about the reunion show that I wanted to get back to, and that was something that you said you didn't really realize was like Vanessa said something and you were like, wait a minute, but you didn't realize until after the show was over that it had happened. Can you talk about that? Do you know what I'm referring to?
So it came off at the reunion that you and Vanessa left the show broken
Oh
up and
yes.
decided to work it out or at least try to work it out.
Yeah, so that was something I clocked like once I watched the reunion, which I watched it the same day that you guys did probably. So she said something along the lines of like, oh, like when Vader and I got back to Hawaii, we were trying to work things out. Like it was not in a way that we were working things out romantically at all. And it was like it had already been decided way before we actually broke up that we weren't gonna move together romantically, move forward with our lives romantically. So it was much more like we were trying to figure out how we can like amicably be friends and figure all of our stuff out because we had like lived together for 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, practically we were kind of like married already, you know. So we were trying to figure that out, but it was not romantic, and it was actually like the furthest thing from that. Like it was like I was trying to get her out off the island as soon as possible. Like this is getting to be like emotionally and physically unsafe, and we need our space immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
How long till she moved out after the show? when you got back to Hawaii?
When we got back, it was like three weeks.
Oh, at the same time as your child marriage. So look at that.
Right? I know.
Wow. So yeah,
Symmetry.
it did sound like you guys had tried to work it out and
Yeah.
get back together. So that is a
Yeah.
huge clarification actually, because I remember we both were like, oh, they seemed really done, and then they tried again. Which is why Vanessa made it sound like she was going through your phone and found out that you guys were trying to work it out, and then all of a sudden you're talking to Yoli again.
Right.
And so it was a whole,
Yeah.
so it's a pretty important clarification
No,
actually.
yeah. We were like, yeah, we were trying to, like I said, like we were trying to like organize our stuff. And so we also had to, we were moving out of that apartment too. Like I was trying to find a new place. So
Mhm.
we're like getting all of our stuff together. Of course, like my phone's laying out and she had somehow like learned my password again, got into my phone, saw that Yoli and I had been messaging like, oh, like, well, if in the future you want to come to Hawaii, like I mean I was kind of like sending that invite to everyone in a way too, but yeah, I guess like Vanessa just like took that piece of information, and I remember actually telling Yoli, now that I think about it, I'm like, by the way, Vanessa went through my phone again and saw that we were talking about Hawaii, so like that was the other thing where I was like, why are you gonna act like you know Vanessa knows
didn't
that?
happen.
Oh my goodness. It's so yeah,
Wow.
so it was so fun to do this because I think the host was so great, but she was so sweet. And I think there's also um I always tease that I watch the Real Housewives of New York, and so Andy Cohen is like goes in for the tea. I mean, he is like you can't say anything, and it doesn't get glossed over. It's like, wait, I'm sorry, what was that? What did you say, Val? I want to hear about that. And she was just so sweet, and I think it was a different type of reunion where we all went in thinking we're going to get all this like
Yeah.
dirt, and then it was more just like letting you guys talk and kind of a chat session. And so it was. I think she was even held back. I heard an interview where she was like, yeah, even asking this certain question, I want to make sure it wasn't upsetting the producers, because of some ultimatum stuff that is stuff that I don't understand that I think you understood more, where the ultimatum producers kind of have it more reined in than what we're used to on getting the tea. So I was like, oh, if I was that host, I'm a question asker. Nothing gets by me. So there's no glossing over. So I was like, oh man.
That's not just when she's hosting, by the way.
No, it's always.
I mean, nothing gets by her.
So just to clarify,
That's
so when
awesome.
you went into the proposal, Vanessa knew that there was gonna be no proposal, that you guys weren't gonna be together. There was no surprise there.
I mean, I would say that there shouldn't have been a surprise, but I mean, I also can't, you know, I had talked a lot about, like I said to her, is I had very much like during like the good parts of our relationship, like dreamed of proposing to her and things like that. Um, so like me, I'm sure like the night before, because we weren't able to see each other or anything. So also it was at like 5 a.m. by the way that we did that.
Oh,
So
that's not even
That is not even
that's not
romantic.
even fair.
I know. But
yeah, try you.
so like
Why?
she,
Wait,
I
why?
don't I know like they had to like get through all of it through I don't know.
So
But
wait, when did you
I
start
will
it
say like I
though?
feel like start the
Filming,
proposal
like when did it start? How long did that whole like when did you
like
see?
that day.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, why? I mean,
Meaning like,
I think they picked me up at like 5 a.m. Is that what you mean?
Ugh.
And then
oh,
yeah.
so you started at 5 a.m. with a proposal and then filmed all day.
Oh no. And then I like went and like to like I don't know, I was like in this like holding period. So I don't think I saw Yoli until like 3 or 4 p.m.
Oh my god.
That's a
Yeah.
rough day. Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But I will yeah, I feel like that Vanessa like maybe thought, oh, okay, well maybe Xander will go back to like feeling the way that she did and like maybe she'll still propose. Like maybe she was a little surprised. But I think she's also realistic enough to know that I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah.
And then you went back to the hotel after that. How long until you actually got to go home? Or was there more interviews? Was it just so you got to go wait till your flight? Like what
Yeah,
happened?
a few more interviews. I think it was only a few days, like maybe like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then we went back home. Yeah.
And then what's life been like for you since you got home? Like fan wise, do people recognize you on the street? I know you're in Hawaii, or when you're at Coachella, are you having a lot of people come up to you, or is it just mostly online? How's that been? How has that changed your life, or has it?
Yeah. Well, I've been in Hawaii for like, I mean, since the show, lived here for like almost 5 years, but I don't know, I haven't been out that much to be honest with you. Like I'm
Yeah.
about to go to San Diego Pride this upcoming, so that's gonna be like my first like Xander
Awesome.
comes out of the off the rock kind of thing.
Amazing.
But
How
otherwise,
was
I've just been
Coachella?
here.
Coachella, wait, was it already airing when you guys
That
went to
was
Coachella? It wasn't, right?
no,
Okay.
Okay.
the show was like we went. Yeah, that was like in 2022.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been
Um.
mostly online for you then. We're just fans on your
Oh yeah.
Instagram
Yeah.
and
Just all online. Yeah.
wow, so Pride's
Yeah.
gonna be fun for you. That's gonna be like your
Yeah.
first. That's
It was
exciting.
my first like outing. Yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, I've just been like, I mean, I've been working a lot. I've been like doing my business. I'm in yoga instructor training and
Oh, wow.
just like doing like a lot of like taking care of myself.
Good.
And say your business name again.
It's Movement RX.
And
Mhm.
is there an Instagram for it? Or is it a
It's just my
website?
Instagram, but yeah, there's a website. It's movewithzan.com.
Movewithzan.com.
Yep.
Amazing. And is it for people everywhere? Or is like you don't have to be in Hawaii, it's
Yeah,
all
I
virtual or
yeah, it's all virtual right now. I'm definitely up to doing like once I'm done with my yoga instructor training, I'll be able to like travel a little bit more and like do some like, go to like LA or somewhere and do like a few days of movement assessments and things like that. I do like a lot of like functional movement. So
Mhm.
I work right now. I've worked the past 3 years with patients with chronic pain. So I have a
wow.
lot of experience like with just like how like the mind and body are connected and trying to get people to like move better, feel more confident, and just like kind of start like I use a lot of my own journey, like my self discovery, and like try and help them with that as well.
That's amazing. Wow.
Wow. Our daughters are
Yeah.
tiptoeing in. Um, okay, so last question, before we do your little fun quiz and then we'll let you go. If you do come to LA though, come have a barbecue, come
Yes.
hang out.
We
Love
would
to meet
love
you
to
Yeah,
have
face to
you.
face. We're coming to Hawaii, so get ready.
yeah.
We're taking that invitation. Okay, so we have a little fun quiz for you that we want to do. So you can do it either past relationships you've been in or how you would feel now. One of those fun like TikTok type that Heidi and I have done. And so I'm gonna have Heidi ask you those, and it's just basically like if you think in the relationship you'd be more the one to do this or not.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So
All right.
it's the kind of quiz because I would be confused if I started right now. It's the kind of quiz where normally you'd have someone sitting next to you, like if you were asking me and Dean, I'd be
And
like, "Oh, it's her."
sometimes we both point and we
Yeah.
Oh,
both
yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
Okay,
All right.
but we're basically saying, okay, we're in a relationship. Do you think you or your other person would be more these things, right? That's kind of what we're asking. Okay.
That makes sense.
So, who would be more clumsy?
I'm not really clumsy, so probably not me.
All right.
I would imagine not with all of how you're
Yeah.
training, etc. Who would be funnier?
Like, have you
I
typically in your
think,
past
yeah,
relationships been the funny?
in my in my past relationships, I feel like that I really like being around people like that have good humor. So I'd probably be the other person, but I feel like mine is more like hidden.
Okay.
Kind of like dry humor.
Yeah.
That's
Quieter.
what
Dry humor. Yeah,
Okay.
nice.
Who would spend more time on their phone?
not me. Definitely not me. Yeah.
Who would be the messiest?
Definitely not me either. I'm such a clean freak.
Okay.
So you would do the dishes more. That was one of the questions.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
do all the cleaning.
Ooh.
Oh, Ethan. Who would be most likely
What were
to?
you gonna say? You can date me?
No, I was
Is that
going to
what
say
you're
you could move
saying?
in. Just move in here.
Well, now it's a threesome.
We have 3 kids, so there is never an end
Oh,
to
I can
like
imagine.
Every time we
dishes,
clean, I'm
laundry.
like, oh,
So yeah,
we're a pandemic love story. So I went from 0 kids to 3 kids, and like immediately my flight was canceled and I was locked down with 3 third graders, and so I went 0 to 3, and so I'm always so shocked still. I'm like, how is it messy again?
How
I don't
how is there
understand.
so many things? Yeah.
I don't get how there's
So
30
many.
cups and we have 5 people
30
in the
cups.
family.
It's real. That's real. That's the thing. Who would be more likely to say sorry first?
Me.
Okay. Who would be more likely to make a big purchase?
Probably the other person.
Okay. How many of these do you want me to do?
Keep going. You're almost
Um,
done.
who would be more likely to dress up for Halloween?
The other person.
Strike up a conversation with a stranger.
Me. Probably both of us.
Okay. Stick up for themselves in an argument.
Working on it, but probably the other person.
Bring
Okay.
home a stray animal.
Not me.
Ah,
Actually, Vanessa brought home stray animals.
so you
Yeah.
do. And you handled that well? Or
Yeah,
were you like, oh boy, okay, quit their job? I mean,
Probably the other person.
because you didn't quit your job, even though you have your own business, is that correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Forget to eat all day?
Me. Yeah,
Get busy. Make up first after an argument.
me.
Give up on an argument.
If it needed to be over, it'd probably be me.
But if it didn't need to be over, you'd stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a growth area? Do you think that that's something that you
Oh
evolve?
yeah, big growth
Yeah.
area. Yeah, and with the
Okay.
right person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most likely to try to skip seeing their in-laws.
Probably me.
And oh, so she answered this. Most likely to go without checking your phone. So
Yeah,
that's
you said that.
because you don't even watch TV, so that's pretty impressive. So imagine if you were having a hard time being isolated as, I would say, an introvert, right? Would you call yourself an introvert?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as an introvert that doesn't watch, a lot of TV and doesn't check their phone, if you were having a hard time, I can't even imagine for like the Mildreds and the
Oh my God.
extroverts. I can't imagine.
I can't
Like-
either. Like I kept thinking about that. I was like, Vanessa's probably losing her mind. Like not talking. But
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
I
she
was doing
feels
this.
from other people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like we joked about it like once we got back together because like the people that would like bring us to our rooms, we would like I'd be like, oh, do you want to come inside? Do you want some of my fruit snacks that they gave me? Like, do you want to come and just chat for a little bit? And they'd be like, no, we gotta go.
Oh my gosh. All right, so this has been amazing.
Yeah.
As you're leaving, just tell me one last thing. Your type now. Going dating forward. What would you describe your type?
My type, I definitely go for like more femme presenting. I know that I need someone that is like gentle and independent and patient and clean. So then being clean is very important to me.
Is there looks? Is looks involved or no?
I don't really have like too many like particular looks wise, but yeah, I don't know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This has been so
Yeah,
fun. Can't wait
thank
to
you
do it
so
again.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Awesome. Come see us in LA.
Yeah, do it.
We'll
For
come
real.
to
All right.
Hawaii. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right, see ya.